I keep hearing all these arguments for the existence of God, and some of them are good, but I just feel like they're weaker than the argument of value, resource, and word. The word. And for some reason, I have never heard people make these arguments. And it doesn't make any sense to me. So, here goes. The argument for a valuable resource. You, for instance, are a resource in a way. You have a specific range of motion. You have a specific trajectory that you are able to accomplish with specific inputs. Everything is kind of like this, right? You have things that exist simply because they are a resource, like we have developed technology that have become resources. But if you look at natural resources, we have things like water and minerals, things that keep us alive. But you could break this down to different levels of values. Some of them seem completely arbitrary, but necessary in describing what they are. For instance, there is a tallest mountain in the world, and there is a shortest mountain in the world. There is a richest person monetarily in the world. There is a poorest person in the world. Be hard to figure out who, but it's there. It's just the way it is, right? And so these are values, and some of them are like that, the highest mountain. It's not really necessarily valuable to a wide range of things, but it's valuable in the fact that it needs to exist in this environment that we've been given. So let's take water and air, for example. Extremely valuable gases, things that exist in a specific state that help more things than other things help to live. You know what I mean? So like air, we all need air. All the animals need air. We all need water. And in a way, these things actually host us. Like air hosts us. It is a medium in which we all live that allows us to exist the way we exist. Our body is like that. We do the same thing. We are a host for many different organisms and organs and organelles and cells and single-cell organisms and bacteria and these colonies of things, right? Then water. Water is also a host. It has rivers and things like veins that move around that cause things to exist. And it hosts the life of fish and plants and all kinds of organisms that create this fundamental space for reality to exist the way it does, right? And you can look at these different resources and their range of value. You can look at how widespread their value is for certain things, like life, for instance. But what about the resource in the universe that is the most valuable for everything to exist? My argument is that that is light. And light is valuable in every possible dimension that you could possibly think of. Without light, nothing can exist. Things are moving on the fundamental level at the speed of light. And nothing can go technically faster than the speed of light. So light not only hosts the universe and makes it possible to exist, but it also reveals things. It also defines everything. It defines it, gives it definition. What does that mean? It literally makes it possible for you to see the edges and corners and colors of everything, the way it is shaped, and it gives it its range of motion. It gives it gives everything its ability to move within its own spectrum of its range of motion. So not only is it a resource, but it also hosts all the other resources and makes them possible. But it also does what we do with words. It defines stuff. It actually tells us what things are. And it makes everything possible to exist. So you could argue that this has infinite more depth to it, and I'll go on, but right now, just if you were to say that the most valuable resource in existence would be a god, right? When we compare humans to gods and say, oh, that person's in God mode, or they're, or we make something an idol in our life, what are we confessing about that? We're saying that that thing gives us the resources we need to exist, right? If we make something a god in our life, like money, what are we actually saying? We're saying money motivates me. Money gives me the ability to host life, like buy a house, right? Which we've already discovered, a value, a resource, is a good host. And you could argue this on so many levels. Back to the mountain thing, like mountains host certain types of animals, grass and lands and certain types of topography host certain types of life. Dirt hosts life of different kinds of things, or it hosts whatever it's made of, non-life, you know what I mean? So you could argue that we make these things gods, and all we're saying is that those things are our most valuable resource, and they give us ability to host more things, non-living and living, whether it's toys and junk and clothing and resources. So ultimately what we're saying is a hierarchy of resources gives us the ability to host other resources to facilitate our range of influence and motion on the earth. And what I'm saying is break that down into very simple patterns. Range of influence. What does that mean? It just means you're available, range of motion, and just what you touch, whether if it's with words or your body, what you touch, and the trajectory of the things that you push with touch, with your words, or with your body, or with the leverage you have, whether if it's with a resource, whether it's a phone or a car or an airplane, that gives you range of motion and influence over more parts of the world, right? Right? It's kind of like gravity. Gravity is another one of these things. So you could argue from that alone that right now we've just decided that light itself is the most valuable thing to us. And it defines everything the way it is. And it gives the ability for life to exist. And now you go in the Bible and it says that. It says God is light. What? And then it says Jesus was the light and the life was in him. And he is the light that lights every man that comes into the world. It's like, what are they talking about? Talking about the resource that allows for connectivity of other resources. On the simplest level, it allows a mountain to be one taller than another. It allows a star to have more gravity than another. It allows gas to be collected in the universe into a cloud that turns into a star through the gravity of these massive structures floating around. And then when they come in with crazy pressure from this gravity, light is bent and things fuse and these explosions happen that give off more light and plasma and create more things. So it's like, it doesn't matter if it's living or non-living, light is the resource that has the widest range of influence over everything, everywhere. Therefore, it's God. But the thing is, we don't understand that that's actually what gives mind the ability to think. But what is mind? Mind is just feedback loops. It's literally just waves bouncing off each other, that feedback information that we collect as data and make another movement based on that input. And you can look around you and everything is doing that. You can look in the water and you can see a wave come in and hit a rock, and then it bounces off that rock in a feedback loop. And it's like, wait a minute, that's like a radar, a sonar kind of thing. And I know radar and sonar are specific wavelengths on the magnetic spectrum and sound spectrum, electromagnetic spectrum. But my point is, it's just these waves. And in your brain, it's the same thing. You have these impulses that are made out of these gates and channels that open, and things diffuse across the membranes, basically simply just because something touched you. And that feeds back a loop up into your brain, and then it says, okay, this is what you're feeling. It processes it, and then you become a resource that influences your environment based on the input and then the output. That's what the whole universe is doing, dead or alive. So you can say just from that argument that mind arises from feedback loops. And then you could just say that the original feedback loop is light, sensing and detecting everything on a fundamental level. Then you can argue the thing where it says in the Bible that God is the Word. Well, what is a word? Describe it. When a word is when you open your mouth, right? A gate opens, value comes out in a specific form that has a type of meaning to other things. It's a range of motion that influences your surrounding, informing it, which means just forming into. And a shape is coming out, and a vibration and a wave is coming out. So you're saying God is the original wave with an opening of closing of something on the fundamental level? Well, in the quantum world now, we're discovering that everything is these particles and waves, and that there's these probability waves, and there's destructive and constructive feedback that creates geometrical structures that are stable, that turn into these things with orbitals, and it makes perfect sense. God is the original wave form that comes from a mouth. And you can compare this to everything. A fridge has value inside it. Why? Because it's keeping cold air in to provide a specific function that keeps the air cold, to preserve something. When you open it, it reaches equilibrium with the outside air, and that thing is no longer preserved. A river, when it has water going through the entrance of it, we call it the mouth of the river. Why? Because that's just an opening of where it comes out. And then in our brains, you have these gates, ligand-gated channels that open and close, that allow different size molecules to go through different size gates that allow your neurons to fire and you think. You look out on streets, there's roads, there's these stop signs, and lights that allow a type of opening and closing of the gates so that the different cells, which are your car, holding the information with its range of motion, which is you, the resource in it, allowing it to go so it doesn't destroy itself by crashing into other ones. And it allows a function to happen in the earth where you go to your work and take care of the earth in one place. One guy goes and cuts down the trees that are dying so it doesn't fall on someone's house and destroy the host that they've paid for that keeps them safe and preserves their life. So it's like everything in the universe is doing these things. And that is my argument for God. And it's undeniable. And no matter what you try to do to argue against this argument, every point you bring up, even if I'm wrong, you're only strengthening it and making it a better argument. You're just making it better. You're just helping my argument more. So yes, prove me wrong. Great. But the more you prove me wrong, the more you're proving my argument right and my little mistakes on the side. You know what I mean? So I think that's a really strong argument. Much stronger than all these people out there debating. So do with that what you will. Go in peace. Be blessed in the name of the Lord Jesus. Yeah, have a good day.